Joy, what's up? How you doing? That thing is really big in the corner. There we go. Hello, friends. Good to see you all. Welcome in. Welcome. It is Monday, and oh my God, I've got a deep dive for you. Yes, I was thinking, why are things so crazy compared to other summers? Well, every summer in Star Citizen is a pretty crazy summer, but I was thinking maybe we could talk a little bit more about like why this summer in particular has people pretty pissed off. Because it's not necessarily just annoyance with the game right now. I think people are very annoyed with CIG in particular. So I went on a little bit of a deep dive and did some like historical searching for the different things that they were saying throughout the years in terms of stability, in terms of the direction they want to go, the philosophy they want to use, the things that they have said throughout different streams and at different times. And we've got a lot. We got a lot to kind of go through leading up until this most recent like series of sales they've done and all that kind of stuff, and the financial report, which has some interesting information in it as well. So thank you for coming if you did. I pinged you on Discord as well. I'm sure some of you got real. That was just a grand old, just such a nice thing. Discord pings are the best, never annoying. Thanks for coming if you did. Sorry if it did annoy you. Somebody put the thinky face on there. Yeah, I like to use my Discord announcements every once in a while. It's been a quiet few weeks, so you know, every once in a while you want to poke people and see if anybody wants to come back in. I see Just Game in the chat. I know I don't have to poke you to come back in, but honestly, it's nice to see your name in chat, dude. Maverick, good to see you, man. How are you doing, bro? How was your weekend? How's your Tuesday, future guy? Tuesday? Yeah, it's Tuesday for you. I hope Monday was good because we are currently just beginning it here. And I'd like to see a nicer Monday than we've been getting recently. Jaybird, good to see you, dude. Welcome in. Crassix, hello, my guy. Hipita. Ethnification, greetings. Greetings, my friend. How are you doing? Thawed Empire and Yui. Good to see you all. You guys got your tea? Oh. You got your coffee? You got your things? You got a freaking hype train started? Off of just some emotes. Some bits and emotes. Thank you, Hipita.
Thank you very much.
Dweemore and W starting the hype train off with some subs though. Thank you guys, much love. We are pushing for the monthly goal early because we got a streamathon coming up soon. And I honestly, the streamathon really, I'm considering doing some cosplay stuff for that. I was thinking about finding my best. Mrs. Tomato is playing through Mortal Kombat 1 right now. And we just saw how, what's her name? Melina, I think it is, became Melina with the mouth stuff. I was like, you know what? I bet that would look real cute in a tomato costume. What better? What better than a tomato with a mutant mouth? Let me get Dweemore on the Toes Gang board real quick. My man deserves the recognition. Toes. Rumor is every sub on a tomato stream means another healthy toe is born out there, and the world is a better place for it, obviously. Dirty Gravy, thank you, dude. Appreciate you. I really need to get a real eraser for this. To be honest, this is your guys' fault. All right, I was fine with the chalkboard. We had the eraser and it worked, and then you guys had to go and poop on my chalkboard parade. It's a cool thing. All right, chalkboards are sick if you're not the one writing on them, and I was doing you that favor. Whiteboard ass. Y'all whiteboard having ass space nerds. 7101, how you doing? Good to see you, Space Marine Vartano. Welcome in, guys. Ravald. YouTube, you out there? What's going on with YouTube? Matt, Sully, Stacy, Stacy Bertrand, welcome in. Good to see y'all. 65, Mr. Dukester. The Duke 0. Good to see you, man. I've got some things coming up regarding the YouTube channel that I'll probably talk about at the end of this week a little bit more. But just to kind of lay it out for you, I'm gonna probably be moving the live stream off the YouTube channel and onto its own channel because there's more to explain there than is worth it. But yeah, it's looking more and more likely that I'll probably be just moving the YouTube stream at some point soon. So a heads up to y'all. I'll let you know when that channel is live if you want to go over to that one, just to be ready when the live stream starts over there. You can't get chat to appear on your phone. Sounds like a phone problem. Can you vote for Tomato doing a Chun-Li cosplay? That was my first suggestion. But you know, I lost some weight this year, you know, and the butt's just not what it used to be. I feel like I can't do Chun-Li justice like that. I got to get back in the gym first. I got to start doing the streamathon squats instead of push-ups. Dirty Gravy. Hey, thank you, brother, for the sub. Appreciate you. 3 months. 3 months of Dirty Gravy is enough to make your mashed potatoes smell for life. That could be a terrible euphemism. Monday came and went as it does. Was glad to see the end of it. You're looking forward to seeing what Tuesday brings. Are we? It's not even hump day, man. Oh, Fluffy, dude. Fluffy Gamer on the toes, I think it's Fluffy X Gamer, actually, if I'm not mistaken. Fluffy Gamer's on the board. It's X Fluffy Gamer. Dog, how do you do it? Oh, is that for the Chun-Li cosplay? We gotta reach the goal. Bro, if I was doing that, I would totally do the age-old like pose that is done. Looking real good. Tomato booty. You guys see the new twerking tomat emote? The dumpy tomat now moves that ass. It's freaking great. I love it. It's the best thing that's ever happened. Star Citizens Freight Elevators brought you here. Glad to hear they're doing well. Taking you where you need to go. YouTube is YouTube and they change crud with no warning or reason. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, I mean, you know how they be. You just gotta bang the phone a couple times and then chat will pop back up. Fola also coming in for the Toes gang, bro. I actually can, like, sometimes numbers confuse me in people's names, but Fola's come through clear as day. 312. I don't know where it comes from, but I can make it a pin at this point. Look at that. Look at all the butts in the Twitch chat. Hell yeah. That's what I like to see. Garden is a butt positive location. You're safe here. What's going to change, chat? No, he was just saying that chat wasn't appearing for him. I was also telling him that we're gonna move to a new channel for the live stream in the somewhat but not too distant future. Now, the reason we're all here, Star Citizen's insane situation right now. It's not super great. I mean, it's the same as, you know, how summer goes. Avocado. That's a lot of cake. Hell yeah, dude. You got to be pro butt. We might not be into pro non-consensual PvP and killing folks who don't want to be killed, but we'll always support the booty. One of those freight elevators made you lose 2 days worth of RMC. Yeah, it sucks. I'm sorry to hear it, dude. Let's talk about that. So, Space Nerds, I have brought you here today to talk about the crazy situation Star Citizen is in. Every summer, we go through a slump. It is known that, in fact, let's go to the Google Trends real quick. Google Trends. It's close enough. It'll get us there. All right. Now we've freaking bottomed out here in July. It's just how it be. But if you go back a month, this is just in the last day, I guess. In the last month, you can see it's declining from June. If you go back even further than that, it'll be higher up in May. So we are definitely on the decline and headed down, even compared to prior to that period. If you go back 12 months, you will see that the same thing was happening. I guess you can't see May. But you'll see that in November it peaks and in May it peaks. And in between it goes low. Specifically right after it goes particularly low. Y'all remember like January time is right after that sort of big November push, and then like right here you're kind of still getting a bit of a push because everyone's off work, off school stuff, and then it drops. Same thing happens in July. So this isn't a weird time for people to be taking breaks from the game, to be frustrated with the game. It always happens like this. If you go back to my YouTube channel, there's pretty sure, historically speaking, I'll put out a video around this time of year that talks about this, and usually it is phrased in a "is the game dying" kind of way. This was last year's, just basically explaining that the money was not going to Star Citizen, as people kept saying, but not really fully understanding, I think, across the whole community. Not that that video helps, but whatever, it was fun to talk about at the time. And then there we go. This is the one for this year. Why Star Citizen players are frustrated. And then we go back another year, and I think there might even be another one back then too. Who knows? Either way, it always happens in the summertime like this. It is generally, people are on vacation, dude. And it's hard to even explain how much those ramifications can like compound and make things worse. But if you work in a company with a lot of valuable people, then you know that. But that's like only half of it. Yeah, normal frustrations with summer, sure. But they've done a lot to get us to this point where we do not have there's no buildup of goodwill anymore, right? They burned a lot of the goodwill in May. There is a lot of talk of what wanted to happen over the years that didn't happen. And I'm gonna go over that today. We're gonna talk about from the letter from the chairman back in 2023, all the way up through the one in 25, the one that came out just at the end of this last year, the fact that we did not get one just now when there was passing of the $1 billion with Squadron 42 coming up, all this stuff. And of course the funding numbers that kind of weighs in. We've got some information from the financial report here and what they've been saying over the years regarding all of this that I think leads back to why this year in particular is their boiling point, and boy are we feeling it. So let's get started. Back in this letter from the chairman, this was 2023. Granted, it was the end of 2023, but this was the end of a pretty rough year where they went through some fairly significant changes. One of those changes, as many of you might remember, is Todd Pappy left as the director of the PU, the person who was running Star Citizen. He was replaced by Richard Tyrer, who said, "Firstly, I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you, or to say how great it is," sorry, I'm putting words in his mouth, "say how great it is to be back working on Star Citizen. Some of you may already know me, but I was a core gameplay pillar director before I moved over to become the game director on Squadron 42. So he went and did a whole bunch of Squadron stuff, which supposedly got Squadron into a state of actually being on the path to release, as yet foreseen. And he came over to do it to Star Citizen as well. And there was a pretty significant change when this happened, I think, or maybe within like a year of this happening. You noticed it a lot last year with more things getting delivered in content drops. Now, there's some interesting bits that he says here about what he learned when he was running Squadron 42. But here, down here, is best. This is like the most important stuff. He says, with every release going forward, right after talking about base building and crafting kind of being a thing he wants to work on, the intention is to move ourselves closer to that end goal of 1.0. So you should expect to see large updates each quarter with many changes to systems that have not been touched in a long time, like economy, insurance, etc. Now, yes, we actually are. The item recovery stuff, we don't get into that. Alongside a whole suite of quality of life improvements to things like inventory, missions, Mobiglass, etc., coupled with totally brand new features and content. They keep using things like quality of life, playability, polish. These types of things keep getting said, dating all the way back to 23, looking at the different trailers that were coming out. That, I think, is a big part of why they're building so much tension. But we'll get back to that. That'll just keep coming up. So that was a big part of 2023 and what changed. You also remember that they finally got persistent entity streaming into the game. Now, they still were working on server meshing, but at this point we were between PES and server meshing in this kind of limbo, where I think they really suffered financially in not being able to push forward on really anything from the PU to Squadron 42. I don't know anything else really. Soul Seeker, whatever it was called, Soul Singer. The other thing that happened was that Benoit came on as CTO after Turbulent was fully acquired by CIG. This completed the meshing of two studios that worked in quite different ways from what I've heard. Turbulent was a very I don't want to say well-oiled machine because I don't know how well it ran, but it ran as a company that has been running for a while. They were founded back in like 2001, I think, 1999, around that time, by Benoit, Marc Boudet, and I think one other person. And their whole goal was just doing tech stuff in various industries. They were not just a gaming company. They would take on problems that required digital tech prowess, and they would handle that, whether for movie studios, game studios, or other internet-based things. They did a good job at that, and they got picked up by CIG to do some contracting work around 2013, and have worked with CIG on that since then. Over that time, they got more and more financial funding from CIG, more of their workflow was intertwined, and eventually the company was acquired and Benoit was made the CTO. Now, he's very much recognized as a regular face of Star Citizen, but he wasn't before. And I don't know how that's affected his position within the company, but he certainly appears to have more influence over the direction things are going in, obviously being CTO. When he did come on, he said, one of my first initiatives as CTO was establishing the technology preview channel. Y'all know I got things to say about that. It's a space where developers can fearlessly test large technology changes with players way before they go live, fostering the spirit of open development with our community. In 2024, our server meshing journey is hitting its stride after years of dedication. We're closing in on the original vision we set out to achieve. Kept on going on to talk more about this stuff, acknowledging things like 30K is a humongous achievement for the game and 4-star engine, separating the simulation and replication. But again, this was 2 years ago. And well, we're going to see how much has changed since then. We can jump forward from there to 2025. This is about a year later, 13 months-ish later, I think. I don't know if there's a date on here, but this probably came out. No, I'm sorry. This would be 2 years. No, this is a year before. This probably came out at the end of 2023. Get your hands on Alpha 3.23 soon. Actually, no, this might be the beginning of 2024. So this came out about December of 2024, I think, maybe January of 2025. So there would have been about a year between these two letters. And this letter is now releasing with the hindsight of what we just read, but also the full year of development that was 2024, which was rough. So they opened up by basically saying, as we jump into the new year, this is Chris Roberts' words, our primary focus across Star Citizen is clear: improving playability. Our goal, our drive for playability surrounds three critical areas: performance, stability, and content. This is where a lot of people get mixed up. They were not solely focused on stability. We understand that the live environment must be far more reliable and consistent, and we are determined to deliver on this. They stopped. That's the problem. And we kind of called this out when they made this letter. They're going to do this. They're going to fix stuff. They're going to get things, repaired. And then they got to go back to development. That's not going to work. If anybody who's been watching the development of this, they have not been putting in the most serious features, and still it destabilizes everything. What's going to happen when they're putting in a damaged model and engineering, crafting, refining, AI features that do certain things? These are all going to have an effect. So it was weird to hear the idea that they wanted to both focus on playability, but also continue to move forward. Until you get down here, where they explain why that might be possible. He said, to achieve our goals, we are making a fundamental change, decoupling feature development from content creation and general fixes. This means new features will no longer hold up content delivery or risk destabilizing the live environment. This approach will leverage the tech preview channel, which was reserved for major new pieces of technology. You guys will remember, we go back to where Benoit joined in and became the CTO and made his big things, and he said his first initiative was establishing the tech preview channel. So they are now changing the need for it 1 year later. It will now extend to gameplay feature testing too. So that would include things like engineering, instancing, refueling, features. When a new feature is deemed complex or risky enough to require focused testing, we'll introduce a separate experimental PTU channel dedicated to only that feature. Testing in this isolated channel will allow us to refine and stabilize the feature without impacting content and broader development work. Only once the feature is fully greenlit will it integrate into our standard Evo PTU live pipeline. We went over this in depth, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, but they say that this means that the stability and predictability are going to be getting better. The team can focus on improving stability, performance, and quality of life. And then the playability initiative. They're going to be tying together content releases that feel more connected to the world. Now, we've seen that for sure. We've seen that not from Xenothread. That's not a great attempt at that, but we've seen it from a lot of other stuff, from tactical strike groups to Rock Cracker, all that stuff. And it's not stuck around. That's the biggest thing. Now you can be like, hey, Tomato, they said that was the 2025 focus, the year of playability. But you might notice in 2025, we didn't get any ePTUs. Well, we got some. I think we got maybe 2, possibly 3, but that plan didn't work. Tea break. Vanilla chai. All right. Where was I? 2025. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we didn't really get any ePTUs in 2025. So the question then is, when does this strategy actually kick in? Because they actually do need to do this, right? Everybody can agree they need to launch 1.0. I know plenty of people will say, I don't want any new features. I want them to fix the features that are in. The fact of the matter is, like, fixing the features that are in, they need new features to fix them. You're not going to get a fix to falling through planets. I'm sorry. That's a problem with Planet Tech working with server meshing likely. and they need to update it. It's just how it has to be. You're also not going to be able to get freaking what else? I don't know, batteries charging. We need to be able to charge stuff. Charge and drain doesn't work. Like there's no fix to that. That's simply something that doesn't function as it's supposed to. Or the fact that you can't buy materials from an NPC in the game. That's feature work. That's not a bug fix. It's not something fixing something that's broken. They have to literally go in and do something new to create that possibility. Player trading, social tools. These are all things that they can't just fix to make work. And if they just fixed the game we had now, it'd be fun, but it would get old really fast. It would be trash. It's just not a full game. Sorry. So when you look at this page of 1.0 features, everything from like hangar upgrades, like being able to move stuff around in your hangar, to a quantum travel system that lets us actually quantum travel where we want instead of having to look at an actual points to move there, to FPS radar and scanning, so you can literally just identify where minerals are on the ground around you. These are not gonna say simple to implement, but simple in people's minds kind of features. And they are the kind of thing that people are looking forward to Star Citizen 1.0 for. So when you say, what's the priority here? It's definitely keeping things stable, but also making sure that they can reach 1.0. Now, sorry, give me 1 second. I just missed this tomato, I think. Sorry about that. Red Huntress, hello. Thank you. Holy crap, 70 months? 69 months, nice. You saw we fix the fixes with fixes from features that make features needing more fixes, along with fixes for features from features that require fixes. Let's go. That sounds suspiciously like Vastin. There's so many fundamental things missing. We're not even playing SC, just some other bandaged up SC adjacent game. This far along, we wouldn't accept the level of BS in any other game. I hope they get there together. Yeah. No, really. There are a lot of like things in here that I think players would just want in a game, and to say you don't want them because you'd rather them fix things that's a rough one. But that's just a little footnote on this whole thing. The idea that we need to reach 1.0 is obvious, but then there's the other side of the equation. They need to make money, and if there's anything that has been more proven true, besides, I mean, you know, more ships mean more money, a more stable game generally means more money. Now let's ignore this May, because that was not a stable game. But I think last year, the goodwill of the game actually having some realistic releases, some playability improvements, and more ship sales, I think led to a lot more money. And the same will happen this year if they don't stop keeping the game playable, which is why I think they're coming out with this big update. Like, the community made its noise, and CIG has to judge how useful certain decisions are going to be. And I think they've made the call that, like, at this point, they're just going to lose way more people if they don't keep the game somewhat playable. So finding a way to keep it playable and finding a way to move towards 1.0 proves to be a struggle, but they laid it out here. So then once we move past this letter into the year of 2025, you start to get all these different kind of things being said. Now, this was slightly before that letter, actually. Actually, no, I'm sorry. This was towards the end of last year. So after this, I believe, you know what? Let's listen to this last. Here. Right here. All right. So here is the CTO last year in September, I believe. And this was kind of after a fairly hefty period of anger about freight elevators. Now, they had already answered to the freight elevators earlier in the year. CTO came on camera, talked about what they wanted to do. They did some fixes, fixed some of the stuff, not all of it. That's why we're seeing them talk about it now again. But back then, they were kind of in hot water. Not so much, but they were trying to start explaining how the game's patch deliveries were working.
Them and how we're using them.
Yeah. So
Tell me about under organizational stuff, but tell me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
The stability score. Things. Talk to me about our internal stability scores and how we've determining them and how we're using them.
Yeah. So stability score is, I don't think we've ever discussed this publicly.
No, I don't think so.
So we have this measure, which is an indication that we use, and the team that actually comes up with this would already tell you it's alchemy, right? Like it's not an exact science, but it does give us a pretty good idea. So we try to establish a stability score for every build, right? We actually auto-calculate it based on the data that we get.
And not patch, every build.
Every build, yeah, every build. So like we send a build to PTU, or QA or staging environments or whatever, and we always have a stability score that's calculated over time. And so what the stability score is, without going, I don't want to go into the alchemy of it, but we're trying to figure out basically the stability of the environment. And so if you're connected to a game server and you get disconnected, we're going to count that, right? Now, the reason for your disconnection will be used as part of that. How long the build has been running is also part of that equation, and the concurrency of it is also part of it. And so with this black magic numbers, right, we basically get a score out of it. And the score is one thing. Now we've put labels on this. So we used to use the score internally as just a number, like, oh, it's a 0.0 and it's a 0.08 build, and then at some point I got a bit fed up with that because I'm like, what does that mean? And so the values for this are optimal, excellent, stable, unstable, volatile, crippled, or critically unstable. So that's the range.
Sorry, I was muted. I wonder what we reached on in May. Which of those levels we got to. I don't think they tell us with each patch. I'd love that, though.
Right. So we go from optimal, which is great, stability score, to critically unstable, right? And all of the thing in between, right? And this is based on, all the stats that we get. And we kind of auto-calculate it. Now, we still have Jeffrey Pease, our internal alchemist, always, playing around with these numbers or adjusting the score, telling us how bad we're doing it. But it is actually pretty accurate in terms of like what the perceived stability will be from a player's perspective. And so if I compare, what was September 11th last year? Was it like 323 or maybe 4 at that point, right? 323 or 4, I forget which one. I would say like the stability score for 323X was probably in the kind of unstable range, right?
Okay.
That would be a normal range for the 3.2X, this kind of thing, right? So the stability score, service score for 4.30, for example, is between optimal and excellent. And so that means the rate of server crashes and disconnections overall is really good. Now, this score is not just server crashes, right? It's also client crashes or client disconnection, right? So if everybody gets disconnected because one of our cloud routers dies, then the stability score of the build will be terrible, even though the servers are up and they're running real fine, right? So it kind of encompasses everything. We're trying to get one number for all of it.
What was the stability score for a 318?
Jared.
That was critically unstable.
Yeah, of course that's going to be bad.
I mean, it's funny because...
Yeah, so I'm betting... Wait,
because actually the server, if you just took the server score for 318, it wasn't that bad, but it's everything before it. That's why it was so critical in the 318 areas. It's because it was really a massive backend, problem at the time. So yeah, let's not talk about that. We're past that now. But
the two things we don't talk about: that damn holiday live stream and Alpha 318.
That's right.
At least Alpha 318 had to happen. At least that.
I don't know if I can't say 4.8 goes on that list, but dang, they. I think 4.8 is the 4.8 will always be the egg on face. I think after all this, like they can't have another patch like 4.8.
Had to happen in order to get everything that came after it. There was nothing about the holiday live stream that needed to happen. So
at the very least, if they have another patch like 4.8, it's got to be like in October, right before IAE, right before the biggest hype time, so that it, because at this point you're just riding that downward slope off of Invictus Week.
You don't want the makeup? Let's go back with the makeup.
All right, so this was the talk that happened in September of last year with the CTO. Now, here is the statement that came from the senior game director of the game just 2 months later.
Everybody knows, and you mentioned just now that this year we changed a whole lot about how we operate and how we release things. How do you think that's gone?
I think it's gone very well. I think if the mantra that I've always been pushing this year at the beginning of January was patch always goes. And I think this year has seen a different development strategy for how we've been moving the game forward. That's where this different strategy has allowed us to really take a wider approach. And we also have to remember that Star Citizen is played by tens of thousands of players every day. And while we have lofty future goals, we still have to make decisions right now that make the game fun for the people that are playing it all the time.
They can't just say this kind of stuff on camera, man, and then not. Like, this is why it doesn't matter if we're in alpha, because what's coming out of their mouths is that, like, they understand that it's not being taken as an alpha by people. And so this kind of stuff, I think, is really starting to hurt them with, like, more of the players who are joining in, not as people who want to back a game and watch something be created and enjoy the development, but of people who have seen this idea that there's like a game to play. And it's just kind of it's a bummer, because it really goes to show how the trajectory of the marketing and the trajectory of the development have, like, I don't want to say started to diverge, but started to clash as it just takes longer and longer to make the game. The people who are making it, like, are very, very on top of what they need to do to make it, I think, but they're working in an environment where you're not, it's not exactly supposed to be for being made. I don't know, man.
The game. If you look at previous years, we've had to hold a patch back, we've had to make concessions, mainly due to around a feature may not have been ready or right to go into there.
There were 3 months, 4 months, sometimes 5 months between patches.
Exactly, and I don't think that's good for anybody. I don't think it's good for the players. I don't think it's good for the development team. I think it's better to have regular cadence of drops. One good example is this year for A Line in Mind.
And it is. It is better to have regular cadence of drops. But, like, what you don't have to drop the new features right into the patch. That's what we're missing.
People probably don't know, but A Line in Mind, when you turned on the laser, it was actually supposed to reveal the Sandworm Valakar. And I played it, and it didn't hit the quality that I wanted to go into the game. So we changed, and I took it out, and I made that decision alongside Chris and Erin, and we've held that back, and we're going to work on that towards a future patch. But I think definitely the more regular cadences has had the multiple benefits, and like I said, I want to dispel a myth right here, right now. Like, features are still being worked on quite heavily in the background, from radar and scanning in FPS, the new quantum, to inventory, engineering and crafting, and all of those features are going to be coming very, very soon for players to get their hands on.
I gotta hear that list again, wait.
In the background, from radar and scanning in FPS, the new quantum, to
radar and scanning FPS and the new, oh dude, those are such carrots now. There's a, hold on, I bet I could find this pretty quickly. There's a video from like 2 years prior. This one? No. Is it this one? I know I'm gonna get this. I think it's this one.
Both ISC and this year's CitizenCon. Now, all combined, they form the next major evolution of cargo careers, coming to the first half of 20% dynamic, and then outside of strict system, the visor and lens system, loot screens, default item interactions in the personal interaction system, and there's even new shopping and mission apps in development now. And while we're talking about apps, the first half of 2024 is also currently scheduled to see the arrival of our new character customizer with things like tattoos.
That was pretty sick.
Piercings, scars,
We got
and
that.
yes, Virginia, it's true, beards. And as for how many and of what kind,
People were hyped for beards.
only Andre knows for sure, but you can bet we're gonna ask him sometime around March. And then, of course, if you're in-game, there's also a little thing called Mobiglass and an awfully big thing called Star Map. They're both getting their big updates in the first half of next year. And have I mentioned those enormous features, new and updated vehicles that are making their way to the persistent universe in just the... Check those off. Top. CIG hat back on.
It wasn't. It was the quantum travel.
Pilot and operate ships we've been discussing since CitizenCon 2952. Now, whether that's every ship or a staggered rollout of groups of vehicles,
this is
depends
master
on.
modes.
And you can be in flight. They can be stored in the cargo transaction system. They form the net for the entire variety of FPS combat improvements coming to the first half of 2024. With improvements to reloading, the weapon wear and misfire system, scopes and dynamic crosshairs and charge and drain, and even more we'll be able to show you once we return in the new
We
year.
actually got most of this.
And then
You know, I thought the quantum boost. I thought quantum travel stuff was in here. So never mind. We're okay. It was just this video that it was just this one that's baiting me with the features that we still can't seem to get.
Background from radar and scanning in FPS, the new quantum to inventory, engineering, and crafting, and
the
all
point
of
of this
those
clip-
features are going to be.
Sorry, the point of this clip, not to get so distracted, is the interesting way that they highlight the need for stability here with this stability scan or stability score, but then also having the person who is in charge of the game coming out and saying, we need to push stuff regularly. If something doesn't work, we'll pull it out and make sure it works. And then, like, and not only are we not seeing the stability score seemingly taken into account when it comes to a big patch like 4.8 because of a sale coming up, but we're also seeing a patch not getting the stuff stripped out of it that doesn't work. Like, the Ironclad shouldn't have come out before.
Thank you very
It
much.
was meant to keep the patch more stable. So I think CIG needs to consider how much they've talked about this publicly and stick to that, which, you know, with this update, it seems like they are, but is this going to stick? Is this going to be a constant ongoing philosophy, or are they just going to leave us with another explanation for how things are going to work and then forget about it a year and a half later? That being said, we can keep going. 2025, as they say, was truly the year of playability for Star Citizen. They did a lot of talking about statistics. We had a record-setting engagement this year, 64 million hours played in Star Citizen, up from 48 million in 2024, which we looked into the numbers and they were a little bit weird. A 40 to 60% increase in daily average users and average peak concurrency, and also huge improvements in server stability with 57% fewer player disconnections per 1 million player hours compared to 24. They feel like it was a very good year, and I think it was, in terms of, like, I mean, again, funding was very good, and even new players. Not bad on the new players front. Second best year ever. Well, new accounts, we'll say. But that's because there was good content, and there was stuff to do, and the game was stable, so people felt comfortable joining in, even if it meant you were still dealing with not complete features. So, eye on the horizon, they say, looking ahead to 2026, our focus remains clear. We continue improving stability and depth in Star Citizen while expanding and connecting core systems that shape how you play, engineering to inventory, crafting, social tools, and other foundational features. This is the same strategy, right? They want to continue to improve stability, but also they want to include the features that people are actually excited for. So they say it. Don't bait us with the words if you're not going to do it, in my opinion. And while we've seen some ePTU use so far, I think improving stability and star citizen expanding has not really been the reality of 26 so far. As we expand outward, we'll also build deeper. Genesis planets represent our next step in planetary tech, offering breathtaking worlds with significantly improved graphical fidelity and denser, more dynamically assembled biomes. We covered that pretty recently. Check out that deep dive. That's a fun one. These planets are driven by the rules of nature and our designers creating ecosystems that feel alive and authentic. Combined with Starkitect locations throughout, Genesis planets deliver both the environmental depth and the gameplay density we need. Supporting that will be a new AI population management system that creates inhabitants appropriate to their local environment and enables more complex interactions between agents. All of this has actually been grouped up together into one deliverable, and I'm realizing just now, Chris was telegraphing that in this letter before Benoit got on camera in March and actually said it. They said they're also upgrading core systems that have been with us for years. Item recovery, inventory, insurance, and cross-patch persistence. These have been focuses. They've actually been working on these things. We've seen inventory improvements. You actually just saw something about that in the last monthly report. Item recovery work's been going on slower than I think it should be, but it's going on. Insurance work is, along with that, also causing chaos for a lot of people. And patch persistence. Negative movement is still movement. No, I think actually persistence between patches, while painful, is getting better. It's still not bulletproof, which it needs to be for a game like this, but it's it's jumping around. And then obviously for Squadron 42, that's their priority. So they don't really talk about too many other features here, which is kind of funny. But the fact that still at the beginning of 26, they're talking about trying to improve stability while also delivering on these features means that we should be seeing some kind of a strategy that encourages that. And this year we have not. So I think that's where a lot of the discomfort comes from. And then 4.8 came out.
He's having the same reaction to it you are, Jasper. These guys work hard. These guys work hard to make these ships as good as they can be. And unfortunately, as the nature of running a live environment in the middle of your development, sometimes things don't work. I mean, folks are asking, obviously, let's use this opportunity to talk about the mission system. Why not? We were going to do it at some point. The mission system is having some trouble. You obviously don't need me to tell you that if you've tried to jump in. They are working on a hot fix to fix that right now. The patch that we mentioned that's supposed to be going out next Tuesday is not for hot fixes. That's an actual legitimate build and a patch. The hot fix for the emission system that will hopefully restore what's happening there, I don't have any more details about specifics, will go out as soon as somebody decides that it's ready to go out. But hot fixes, patches, different. There's also another question in there about why we release things in such states. And every time that question comes up quite often, and I go back to 2017 and the wait for 3.0. when we didn't have any new content for like 9 months because we waited and waited and waited and tried to get everything done, tried to get everything perfect, tried to get everything dialed in, and there was no new content for 9 months. I had that stupid beard because I said I wasn't going to shave.
It sucked. You guys remember the burn down? Oh boy.
Until the patch came out.
I feel it.
That's not a... It was stupid for me, Mark. It's lovely on you.
But honestly, the game worked. That's like people look back at 3.17 kind of fondly because it was a stable time before 3.18, and I think most people would have preferred if 4.8 had just not come out, and instead there was I think a lot of people like the idea that 4.9 is just going to be mainly a smoothing over of what's going on, because at the end of 3 months of not getting new content, as much as that 3 months sucked, at the end of it, you're like, oh, okay, here we are. We're we're getting the content again, and hopefully they deliver it in a more stable way and environment. but just like, I don't know, a drought, I don't think to a lot of people sounds too bad right now compared to the alternative. I think there's going to be a lot of different opinions on that, though, so I won't claim that that's speaking for everyone.
Lovely on you. Mine was all great. I look like a homeless person, but it's and even with all that work and even with all that waiting, it still had its issues. And when the answer is there's no such thing as waiting until something's perfect. There's just not. So we put things out in the best condition that we can, and we continue to fix and we continue to push and we continue to develop afterwards, which is what the folks working on the hotfix for the mission system are doing right now, which is what you're doing with fixing the damage pass-through for the Ironclad.
And our friends from CGP4 as well.
Yep.
Shout out to them.
So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the Ironclad Assault, which is...
So things are not being held back then. Essentially what he's saying is we get stuff into the best possible state that they can be, we push it out, and then we will fix it as we go. Which does kind of line up with what Rich is saying. He just wants to like strip things out and then get them into the game to go. But again, I don't think that's reaching a high enough level of quality. Like, you guys might take stuff out, you might make it so the patch can launch, but clearly it's not. And 4.8 wasn't. So a little bit weird. Now, the other side of it is when these patches come out, they're filled with sales. Just constant pushes to upgrade, emails to buy things, advertisements, and like ship purchases everywhere. I'm the kind of person who is gonna say, don't spend your money on ships, don't buy ships if you're not trying to support the game. But if you are trying to support the game, it needs it. They ain't gonna make a game if they're not making any money, so they do need to sell stuff and make money with it. But I think that they should sell stuff through like making the best thing. And if you're having bad patches but also pushing ship sales, it becomes more obvious that the ship sales are really the focus, especially when the patches tend to be something like 4.8.3, which didn't really do much. Now, this brings us to the newest talk that Jared has had with Benoit, the same guy who was talking about the stability score here. This is in response to what is currently happening. So we've got about 8 months now difference from the last time we saw him talk about stability scores and stuff. Here's his commentary on the current situation.
Let's talk a little bit about how 4.8 did. I saw there was a lot of commentary online that 4.8 was as bad as 3.18 and whatnot. We don't need to rehash 3.18 whatnot. Most people watching the show knows 3.18 at this point. Was it really as bad as 3.18? No. Or talk to me about what's your take on how 4.8 went?
Well, for me, if I take from the machine room side of things, we've been firefighting since we launched 4.8. I mean, from a whole slew of different issues. Some of them are to be expected when we launch a patch that has this many amount of core changes. Like 4.8 has, we've touched on systems that are really central to the traversal again. So we're talking about the entitlement system, which has not changed in years at this point, and we've completely overhauled the entitlement system in 4.8 to power, in part, the item imprint system, but more importantly, to pull the entitlements out of the patch cycle and persist them across patches. So what we call the LTP layer is not just what you have in your inventory, it's also what you own. Your ships and all of the items that you purchase in game now have an entitlement record that holds the insurance loadouts for it, all of the customizations that you make out of it, and that's hosted outside the game, not outside the game, but outside the game patch, which means that when we come back from a patch, there's no risk of, oh, I'm not getting my ship back, right? What you see in ASOP in the first patch will be exactly the same data source in the second patch, and so that risk of...
So this is actually pretty important. This is him explaining something that even Chris was saying in his letter at the end of last year, which was that cross-patch persistence was a pretty important, significant improvement they wanted to work on. Now, this also falls in line with what Benoit was saying back here in September. And if you look at Benoit or Star Citizen Live episodes over the last 6 months or so, there was also another patch or another talk here in February, with Benoit, where he went over this same thing, the idea of imprints, persistence, insurance, and ownership is really key, because that is ruining a lot of the game for people. Not having your stuff persist between patches, not having the game recognize what you do and don't own. So as they try to get tech figured out to make that better, it is destabilizing the game. And this is something that we've seen happen with previous patches, going all the way back to 3.0, 3.3 with object container streaming. I believe it was 3.5 with, is it 3.7? Server-side object container streaming somewhere here. Yeah, that was one. I think 3.18, obviously, with the persistent entity streaming, 4.0 with server meshing. These are all patches that caused big upswells and instability because they were doing stuff in the back end. Interestingly, it's not listed in the core tech here, but it is kind of listed in, I think, like the gameplay section. Oh, that's 4.9, sorry. Item recovery. So it's kind of listed as core tech, but it doesn't come off as serious with that name. This seems to have been a pretty destabilizing thing in the game at the time. But again, it's kind of like, why, for these big pieces of tech that we talk about going into the game that can destabilize stuff, what happens to this model when considering that? And why can't we get enough people into the EPTU to test it?
Of like losing ships across is completely gone. So we're very happy. In fact, that bit actually went very well in 4.8, even though up to the launch, it was, there's always last minute things to look at. But we have been firefighting across a multitude of different issues that were tangential to that. Some of them we can touch on a little bit, because I've made some notes to talk about gameplay systems here and why they were affected by some minor infrastructure issues that turned out to be massively contributing to the perception of the patch. So I'll talk a bit about that in a bit, but basically we've been firefighting since 4.8.0.
So clearly it was rough. I really think that they should start putting out that stability score that he was talking about before. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the amazing, absolutely incredible Anonymous in chat once again, coming in here, joining in Toes Gang, making the kids say yay, making the anime girls say wow. Thank you so much for your support. It means a lot. It goes far. It goes so far, you don't even know. Appreciate you. Toes Gang board is populous today. I am gonna start cultivating a tomato for every Toes Gang board. I just got 2 tomato plants. I set them up in my backyard. They're next to the basil. They're in between the basil and the peppers, kind of. A little sunlight, a little bit of shade. And I'm gonna start cultivating tomatoes, and I'm gonna bring them in here for you guys. And I'm totally not gonna eat them. I'm just gonna give them to Mrs. Tomato, but everybody gets a tomato. Well, almost everybody. I don't know. We'll see how healthy the plant is. Thank you so much for your support. It goes a long way. And it actually means little Tomat's gonna have even more diapers, probably. The CIG wants to load up people in PTU, offer live incentives. Yeah. Agreed. Absolutely agreed, dude. So here we are. 4.8 rough launch. CIG has been saying for a while now that they want to focus on stability as well as the features, decoupling feature development and content creation. They want to improve stability and depth. They want to release patches so that they are fast and regular, but they also want to release them with a stability score. That means that the game's going well. There's a lot of contradiction here that I think all comes back to a lack of parallel testing, which, to be quite honest, I think all comes back to funding at the end of the day. I think the number one thing that's causing Star Citizen's problems are, drum roll please, Squadron 42. Yes, that's right, everybody. God, we love it. We love it. I feel bad, honestly, because I'm excited for Squadron, but it has created, it's like a weight hanging on Star Citizen's neck that has created so much animosity towards it, because it just takes a lot of resources. We know that developers are still moving over to Squadron 42 to work on it. Clearly it's still being worked on. They have not been able to confirm for us when the release date is this year. But they also haven't been able to delay it. And that is the absolute most painful situation they are in. Of all of this stuff that's happening, the pinnacle of the tension comes from the fact that Squadron 42 cannot be delayed. If it's delayed this year, this record-breaking year that clearly needs a lot of money for whatever reason we'll get to in a little bit, it starts to fall flat. And I do think that they're in a position where it can't fall flat. We know that they were down money from 2023. Their cash reserves went down. We know that there is a put option from the investors that is exercisable right now. Like, if I was in charge of CIG, I would also be trying to make as much money as possible. Hey guys, this is not a risky bet. You are good. We'll be fine until 2029. And I don't think I can find the... I probably can't find the note 29, I think it is. I don't know if this is the right document, to be honest. Contingent within note 29. Yada, yada, yada. Where is note 29? Here we go. All right, note 29 is right here. So this is the big one, right? For 277,500 shares, their put rights are exercisable on January 1st, 2028 only. Their earlier put exercise date have now passed. For 1,599,900 shares, their first put rights are exercisable between 1st of January 2026 and the 30th of January 2026. We are in this period right now, right? Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't know how money works that well, but if you're at this point where they could exercise that many shares of investment into your company, which can total up to 71 million pounds at a time when, oh man, if we could find their numbers again, I think it said they had 13,000 or $13 million somewhere. I can't find it again, but you guys, you saw the numbers. There's clearly a lot of liability there. Here we go. 5 million cash equivalent at the end of 24. This is not at the end of 25. So again, they had an amazing year in 25 that could have changed this stuff, but they're clearly in a period of high tension. I don't think they can say anything about Squadron 42 because they can't have Star Citizen players starting to pull back right now, but they also can't focus on Squadron 42 because maybe it's ready, maybe it's not. I don't know. It could be coming this year. It could be coming early next year. I genuinely don't know. And it's going to be cool when people get to finally see it in October. But until then, it's all questions up in the air. And I think that's where really all this comes from, is like, you've been sending these messages about Star Citizen, and I'm sure those messages were dependent on the idea that Squadron was going to be moving faster and getting out of the way, and it didn't. And now instead of saying that, they're just kind of like chilling. So we'll see where it goes from here. A lot of this rests on 4.9, I think. A lot of this rests on their ability to actually get the game into a functional state across a number of game loops and mission opportunities in 4.9 and 4.10. I would go so far as to say maybe even consider not even doing 410 in August and focus on 411. But yeah, that's my summary of how we got to where we are right now. And we'll see what they do next. They are nice ships, though. There are some nice ships in there. You're still waiting for your Banu Merchantman to become playable after purchasing it 13 years ago. I am writing a video about you right now. My next supporter video is all about the Merchantman. Too many great games start to roll out around November to next fall. If they drop the ball, most will just want the PTU while focusing on other things. They, yeah, and September is stacked. Oh my gosh, September is biggity big bad. How many, let's see, games releasing September 2026. I mean, even Ace Combat is coming out, dude. You got Onimishu, you got The Blood of Dawnwalker, Wolverine is coming out. Destroy All Humans 2, Reprobed is coming out on Switch. What? Dune Awakening is going out to consoles. Control Resonance coming out. New Silent Hill. Let's see, there's a new Warhammer game. It's a new Fire Emblem game. I believe there is, yeah, Ace Combat's the beginning of October. And then something else is coming out around October time. There's just so much, like everybody's just cleared out from November. It's crazy. And then even next February is starting to get stacked. Fable is already announced for next February. I think somebody else did. It's wild. Curious how the flight model looks in Squadron 42 right now. Pretty sure they aren't using the same model we have now. Yeah, I'm not, if I'm not mistaken, I think they said that at one point, that it was different, and it becomes pretty clear. Like, the more you realize they're trying, how many people they're trying to get with Squadron, the more you realize they can't use the same flight model as Star Citizen. No, I don't see anything about it here. I should try and find that info, because I swear that's something that was stated at some point. Flight model, Squadron 42 versus Star Citizen. If I was them, I'd use a different flight model, man. It just doesn't even, like, let Star Citizen have its more in-depth weird flight model. Make Squadron 42 a cinematic thing. Trying to build both of these games the same way has been has led to a lot of unpredictability, I think, for them. You remember when RSI was all excited for finally breaking the 1 billion mark after like 12 years of funding? Meanwhile, GTA 6 passes that in 1 hour. They weren't even excited. They didn't say anything to us. We didn't get a letter from the chairman. We got a letter from who is it? Variety. We got a letter from Variety. That was good. CIG promised game modes with 1, no subs, 2, no pay to win, 3, hardcore sub is wait, what? Hardcore subscription only, pay to win only. They keep their promises. Oh, Dan Buckle, dude. Buckling up the bits, bro. Thank you for the 500 bits. I appreciate you. And your support, my friend. I hope you're having a good week. Any good summer plans? Is anybody going to the beach this week? Let me live vicariously. I'm not much of a beach guy, to be honest, but I just love seeing Mrs. Tomato at the beach. She's so happy. She is the most beach person I've ever met in my life, which I guess kind of makes sense. Those Mediterraneans, you know. All right, sorry about that. I didn't know what to record that or name that record. You're not holding your breath, but you hope the 4.8 disaster has given people like Benoit more leverage to get the job done. You trust him and wish he was leading the company. I mean, as CTO, he's certainly doing quite a bit now. People don't realize CR never finished an indie project. He was working for Origin when Wing Commander was published and worked for Microsoft when he was fired during Freelancer due to other overdev and budget. I think a lot of folks are just hoping that he surrounds himself with smart people, you know? I think the biggest thing that I look for in a leader of an organization, of a group, of a government, of a place is like making sure that person, even if they don't have all the skills I think they need, because who does, right? They at least have the critical thought to be able to surround themselves with the folks who do. And I mean, I've definitely been suspect of some of Chris's choices, but I also don't have enough understanding of the entire business to really make a good call one way or the other. Turkey has some great beaches. Yeah. It's hard to beat. It's hard to beat an Aegean Sea beach. Like, there is a reason the Greek islands have the reputation they do. It's so freaking warm. It's so warm and nice. I actually have the Wing Commander in my cart. Well, I did have it in my cart. Clearly it was removed from my cart. It's like $3.95 right now. I'm gonna play through it at some point soon. We'll do it here on stream just to get ready to understand what's coming. There's a bit of nepotism at CIG. Let's hope they know what to do. Really don't understand why people keep using hyperboles in regards to 4.8. The game has objectively improved compared to the past few years. Regression in a patch happens to almost any application. Sometimes people use hyperbole with just about everything. What I've realized is if you don't have to answer for making a statement on the internet, you can just say whatever the heck you want, right? Did I announce if I'm going to the Squadron 42 reveal or not? I'm not. I have said it a couple times, but yeah, I'm not going. CR has to be a little nervous to drop Squadron. Yeah, I would be. I'd be terrified. I'm scared of it coming out, and I don't even have. It's not my game. Like, there's so much riding on it. It's crazy. Wing Commander 3 is better. It's the cinematic one. Oh, is that the one with all the real videos? Oops, I just typed in cinematic. Wing Commander 3. Is that the one with John Reese Davies and stuff? Why is there always a tiger? Are they the Kilrathi? Heart of the Tiger. Y'all just love your tigers, huh? Space Tiger. The calm that common sense brings does not generate a click. You do have a point about surrounding with good, but you have to let those people carry the work and not micromanage. Yeah. I didn't realize the Kilrathi were actual tigers. I thought they were like a fictional. But no, that is a tiger guy, man, person. That's hilarious. Mark Hamill and a tiger. But Gillian Anderson. For Squadron? Yeah. All right, let's jump in and see how the game is actually performing now, specifically the PTU. I haven't gotten to see the PTU too much, but we can keep talking about the actual performance of the game. Or if you guys still want to like talk more about like what was being said during these conversations, because there is some interesting stuff that gets said. Like, I think he keeps talking about
coming very, very soon
his plans for this
players
year
to get their hands on. And, you know, I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to sit here and say that if I was to go back to the start of the year, I would hope that we would have released more features. But I also think every decision we've made this year has been through the lens of making the live experience as stable and as good as possible.
Absolutely. All right, so that's a bit about the year before. And the year before has been, I've said this before, I've said it internally, I've said it out there, I'm going to say it right now again on camera. I think this has been the best year of Star Citizen ever, and I'm willing.
It's like you kind of just have to move your scale over, right? The Overton window. Yeah, it was a year of playability, and you know, and it was very high when you go in Star Citizen's Overton window. 1 and 2 do develop some intercrew relations and story that 3 works off of. I'll have to do one of those summaries, or maybe you guys can fill me in as we're playing. Get some chat ad libs to help me fill in the blanks.
And to look right into the camera and say that the player numbers are up, engagement numbers are up, the length of the play sessions are up, bug numbers are down, 30K.
This is something that keeps coming up though in these talks. This came up during this discussion as well. A lot of metrics talk. I'm realizing that there's a lot of metrics talk. It was in the letter that we were reading. It's talking about like the success of 2025, right? In this one, they do a lot of this like, okay, player numbers are going up, but are they staying up? And what are they? What's the actual number?
It's been a solid year. But CitizenCon isn't CitizenCon without talking about the future. So I want to move us to the future. We've talked about story. We've talked about this more diegetic, immersive universe and adding voice lines and stuff like this. But where do we go from here? Obviously that continues. But what more are we going to do to make this universe seem alive and real and breathing?
I think the biggest thing is to start having that conversation be two-way. So if you think about this year, like you mentioned, we've been having fully voiced NPCs, but a lot of those missions and those NPCs, they're talking to you, they're talking at you. Right. You don't get to talk back to them. Now, obviously, you get to interact with them through your actions. You get to go and do their mission, and you get to move that along, and then they talk to you again. But it's a one-way conversation.
We're missing that conversation wheel.
Exactly. The next part would be physical mission givers. That's something that we're going to be working towards very soon, with Battaglia being the first one coming back in the verse. And just to be clear, we'll be bringing all the mission givers eventually back, and we want them to be an integral part of the verse and the story that players go and enjoy. We want the locations to be brought to life, and as we mentioned last year, we want to have interactive scenes that you can go and be part of. And obviously the full end goal is towards, you know, to have cinematic stories in the game, and that is what we're going to be pushing towards. Everything we do, every decision we make is through the lens of moving us closer to 1.0. It might sometimes be difficult to see why those decisions have been made at the time they've been made, but rest assured that Star Citizen 1.0 is still our North Star. That's what we're still aiming towards, and that's what we're going to be moving forward with every patch next year as well.
And remember,
except for 4.9. And I think that's the biggest thing is, somebody said it earlier in the comments, they gotta talk with less certainty. I gotta talk with less certainty. I'm insane. I'm sorry. All right. For years of talking with more certainty than Star Citizen deserved, I've definitely had a lot more opportunities to reconsider that over these last several months. As we've gotten out of that period of like stabilizing past the 4.0 moment with server meshing, I have been waiting for them to get to this point where they can stably develop and move forward with some level of confidence. And I realize it's just simply not there, and it's not going to be there in the alpha stage. That's just how it is. So I am changing my vocabulary around that. You know, I'm definitely going to not do more hedging, just do more, you know, straight out and out. What are the actual possibilities of it? Not so much what are they saying of it. I know that's probably something that people are going to take and run with. Space Tomato's no longer a mouthpiece. I'll prove you wrong. Just wait for the next hype article to get released. This is what alpha really feels like. But that's why I think that they've made the mistake of no longer explaining the alpha environment. Like before 4.0, I was totally in line with that. After 4.0, their messaging changed on it. You wonder if, given the lots of cameo from their Star Wars in the trailers of SC, they will introduce some Easter egg in Squadron 42, like a conversation with Mark Hamill to unlock the Jedi class. They've got to. That would be so dumb for there to not be some kind of a Star Citizen reference, like making... I bet you when earlier on in the game, when you're first getting your fly through, like your first couple missions where you're in the Idris and you just learned that your commander out on your wingman is Mark Hamill, I bet you guys go out as like Red Squadron or something. And he does the whole check-in going into the first battle. Can't not do it. Can't not help it. We could probably find every Star Wars reference they've done in all of their videos, put them all together, and there would be almost as much footage as a Star Wars movie. This is actually one of the clearest ones was the Inside Star Citizen with the Scorpius. I don't remember. I think I might actually just have to like look up the files on my computer. Let's see, the Scorpius had one. This shot from one of the sequels. Very memorable. And then they've got this shot from the Planet Tech demo that we just saw. Actually, there are two. They did two freaking Star Wars references in this video. They can't help themselves. You got the first one, which is the this guy trying to force lift his Scorpius. And then you jump forward to the forest, rainforest, the redwoods. And you got these guys in their speeder bikes. Everyone knows you. Not only are you have to go like 10 meters per second doing this, but you'd also die. Well, I would die. You have a feeling Star Citizen is going to be like Warframe and Eve, where it's never finished, it's always trying to move forward? Absolutely. The question is, can they reach a 1.0 state before they have to settle into that phase? I think that's the scary part about Squadron's launch. If Squadron doesn't launch well, then CIG ends up needing to settle on whatever exists in Star Citizen at the moment instead of continuing to build forward. I see GII folks there. I see AAK there. I see our people in the crowd. Nerds. Let's see, what other references are there to Star Wars? There's Jesus. I forgot them all already. We got two. We got to the lucky number 2. All right, y'all. Let's open it up for Q&A. Ask your most unhinged Star Citizen questions. I'm really just trying to stall jumping into the game. Morphologist in a Star Wars tee? Yeah, there's another reference. I see Valis. I see Walgrit. I see Skippy. I see AAK. Are they removing the bricking feature? Yes. Well, no. Well, kind of. Item recovery it's got some plans. Suggest a poll. Should Space Tomato eat a tomato closely to his mic while staring into the camera? Bro, do you want me to lose this channel? You trying to kill all momentum we've ever had? Just some slurps and juice spilling onto the mic. I don't even know if that deserves to be a poll, but he suggested it. So could we, kind moderator, could we make that one a poll? And I swear I really hope that you guys know what's good for you. So the bricking feature came with item recovery tier 0 here. And the idea behind it is that they wanted things to be able to be kept by the player when they die. This is a playability move. Star Citizen in 2025 was all about playability. So one of their big things was making sure that they could keep people satisfied with very short turnaround. This is something we're seeing in all these space games. I'm thinking about making a video about this. We're seeing it in Elite Dangerous. They're now doing instanced operations. We're seeing it with Star Citizen. They're talking about jump to party member. Seeing it even with No Man's Sky a little bit, I think, with them trying to do the Corvettes and the way they've done this most recent event. Everybody is trying to make fast bits of action and fun more possible in games that were originally built to be about slowly exploring and getting around the verse or the space. Interesting shift to see, kind of a sign of the times, but this was one of Star Citizen's attempts at this, and it will be going away, as they say here, while Tier 0 lays the groundwork and provides some assurances that equipped items are not lost. We already actively developing Tier 1 and Tier 2 implementations. These future updates will add more depth to the system, including a viable path to piracy. Moving forward, it says looting and bricked items. Once an item is looted, it remains usable until the original owner reclaims it or marks it as stolen. At that point, a dead man switch is activated, meaning it will cease to function after a period of time. Now, with Tier 2, a bricked item can be sold, it can be dismantled for crafted materials, or with the potential cost of crafting materials and credits, it can be restored to make it yours. So even if it is bricked, it will be able to be stolen or used for something else, but also you'll be able to unbrick things overall. How this is actually implemented, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going to just say what they say. This stuff changes over time. They wrote this a year and a half before we've even reached Tier 1. So I'm sure things will shift and it won't end up exactly like this, but you'll be able to remove the brickment, the brickening. Can actually go to the CitizenCon that happened before this, where he talks a little bit about how this would work in the example of a ship.
First up, let's discuss ownership. All ships and high-value items that you own will automatically be assigned to you. Good to see you. This means if someone steals your ship, you can mark it as stolen, either via an insurance claim or in your Mobi. This will then trigger a dead man switch on the stolen ship, meaning it will cease to function after a period of time. But what options does this leave as a pirate? Well, you can still salvage it. You can tow it back to your fabrication hangar to dismantle it for resources. Or if you have a high enough rep with the council, our criminal guild, you can get the dead man switch disabled and pay for a new title deed to become its new owner.
No, steal ships, bro. Stealing the ships. OAOSCS, when is the appropriate time for being upset with this game? Because there are people who will put you down if you're mad or if you're happy with things. There is never an appropriate time. Trust, dude. Humans are pretty crazy. You can literally get killed in this world for looking a certain way. So if you want to be unhappy with it, dude, be unhappy with it. The way that you express it, will garner reactions, and that's just we live in a society, and that's one of the side effects of that. But there will always be a spectrum of people who are happy or unhappy in any which way, and will be willing to fight you based on your own position on it.
Also, if you're in a lawful system, you'll need to find a transient jump tunnel, as all major locations and POIs will have custom security that will scan you on arrival. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's look at the unlawful system in Pyro. Unlawful systems have no laws at all. And with
this is crazy. It's so funny. This doesn't even come up. I think most of us have completely... Is it too loud now? Sorry, I'm trying to... CIG's volume levels are weird. Oh, loud minority, I got you. This is one of those things that they mentioned, and it's like the pouches. We just don't see it ever anymore. I don't know what the heck this was or is going to be. Because something like this is going to completely change how Pyro works, you know? Yeah, how does a star system like... This was an interesting part of this presentation. I would say actually it's probably this whole last 40 minutes of this presentation or so is just kind of feels a little hopium. Starware is... Bro, are you serious? It's a freaking spider hanging from my microphone. Hanging? Floating off of? I don't know where it even went. Starware actually gets a lot of mentions. I think that's a good example of a feature that's making progress over time. Yeah, this one's a little crazy. That one's a little crazy. Player-run space stations is a, I'll let you, you know what, if you haven't seen this.
Let me introduce you to player space stations.
It's the whole trap every dev scene seems to fall into. Let's enable PvP and PvE and they can just live together happily. We'll see. Dude, I mean, if CIG could even just get security to work, like we can't even test out that possibility. I do think that it's possible, but if you can't make an environment in which it can be tested, how will we ever know? I really hope we don't get to the point where they have to make a call on it before it was ever even a reality to try out, you know? How much of 1.0 do I think they will get done this year? Not much. And if you mean how much of 1.0 is in from the release view of 1.0, I don't think there's much. I think we might see Starware initially implemented, but even then, not fully. I think that we will probably see Genesis initially implemented, Planetech V5. I mean, see, like crafting is kind of implemented, but the card is still there. So it's hard to say how much is actually going to be implemented when they're coming in bits and chunks. Weapon overheat's also there with the Volt weapons. Still tentative. So I don't know. I think they'll get some stuff done. I think they'll make some progress, but it's hard to write down on a sheet the percentage that they've made. Need to cram all the features for 1.0 into the game all at once, but they can't make them. They don't exist. They don't have the money. All the money's gone towards Squadron. Not all of the money, but like a big enough chunk of it that they don't have devs that are working on this stuff. The John Wick armor suits in 4.9. Yeah, I don't know how much of a 1.0 feature that one is. Ooh, I do want to actually, I kind of want to get in game and try out this CQ7 rifle. I haven't seen it yet.
Org activities. But why is this an end goal? Well, first of all, to construct your own space station, it's going to require vast quantities of resources and materials. And also will be a large time investment. But how do we start? Well, it all starts with the supply bay. And the supply bay can only be constructed by the pioneer.
You know, it's interesting. I love Ian. I think he does a pretty solid job with presenting, and clearly has an eye for art. But he is the art director. And from what I've noticed, whenever they have the art director talk about these kinds of things, they usually change quite a bit before we see them. Things like distribution centers, underground facilities, municipal works, player-run space stations. These things generally tend to change, so I don't even expect this to launch how they're talking about right here. $800 grade ore only in Pyro with contested areas. Guys, did you really vote for me to have a freaking tomato eating session on microphone? You're gross. All right, I can't do it. I'm allergic. Sorry. Wah. It was all a lie. You look forward to the features and visuals they talk about in that video. You hope it works out. Core progression. Tell me.
Thanks, Dave.
Tell me about core progression.
So we have a main story to connect the universe. We have all the guilds and their associated professions. And we have location stories to give the world depth.
So what about olives? Now you can just off for that one.
And life. Crucially, though, we have a new core progression in the game. Guild reputation. But what about our other core progression in the game? The economy. So, as we've discussed before, we'll be implementing a star sim-powered dynamic economy that will automatically adjust the in-game prices based on player activity. But for credits to actually matter, though, we need to have an economy where credits flow out as well as in. This means transactions such as repairing, refueling, and restocking need to have value. If everything is too cheap and the money coming into the economy is too great, we'll have massive inflation.
This has been a pretty funny thing going on over the last 6 months. I want to hear from you guys. Chat. How has this been going? There needs to be a fight against inflation, right? So how have they been doing with that? Would you say they have introduced too many things to take your money too quickly? Is it still pretty easy to make money? Is it like easy to make money, but too easy to lose the things that you pay for the money with? What's your gripe? I personally feel like it's still not easy enough to make money doing what you want to do. But that I think is because you can't simply go mine high quality ore and then sell it because it's high quality ore. You basically just mine high quality ore and then try to find something to do with it. Because selling ore isn't that great, and the process of like selling guns is also not, you want to craft a bunch of high quality guns and then sell them, you're not getting more money for it. There's like a couple really good ways to make money, but it still feels like you're pretty limited in all the game loops. Not enough pieces of the puzzle in place yet. You feel it is way too easy to make money. You start at 4.8 with the Ironclad and Salvation. That's a hefty way to start. You already see players selling things for 50 million. We need more sinks for the 1%. For the 1%, right? We need nice apartments in space stations and cities somewhere way off in the distance. You don't gotta deal with them. Tax the rich, bro. People are rolling in cash because of the refueling missions being way overtuned. Right. And then contract hauling is easily stackable with no risk, too much pay. But then as soon as you start adding risk, like let's say you start adding NPC pirates to those routes, do you think that could balance out? I mean, do people really want to pay for escorts? If you could pay an NPC escort to fly out next to you, that would be one thing. That would actually make a difference. You somehow made 3 million in an hour just solo completing the Xeno event. Oh my god. Yeah, you're right, dude. That is especially an easy way to make money. If you just sign up for the events everyone else is running at the same time. You've been enjoying scraping, but the lock to the landing pad thing is problematic. It's so funny to hear people talk about their own part of the game and like what specific little glitch is making that more difficult. So they really add up over time, or rather over all the different game loops. Feels like if you're solo for whatever reason, the main and best way to make money is cargo. Most combat pays just enough to recoup, and mining and salvage feels like a loss overall. Salvage feels like a loss, really? That's wild. Hard to find ways to make money other than 2 to 3 niche ways like hauling and refueling. Right. Yeah, the refueling stuff is funny. I hope they got a lot of good data on refueling because I don't see it ever being this well paying again. You can easily make 1 million plus per hour doing ghillie missions 3 to 5 repeated with a Titan? Like an Avenger Titan? Wow, that's actually not bad. If you want to, I could probably learn some combat with the VKBs doing that. Maybe that's our Friday. I'm thinking about hopping into Elite Dangerous on Wednesday. Spinning that one back up so that maybe we can play it every so often and see what's going on there. I'm kind of considering doing a comparison video between Star Citizen, Elite Dangerous, and No Man's Sky. Because they're all kind of doing interesting things in their own little ways. They're kind of bouncing off each other. Salvage is chill, combat is good. Mining takes time, hauling is chill and repetitive. Just pick one. Pick your poison. Now you find yourself towing and salvaging Perseus that are littering stations due to the docking issues. Bro, it's a conspiracy. CIG is just trying to buff salvage. That's why they're making it so hard for us to use our ships. They want us to leave them out more so that salvagers can find them. You figured it out. In Elite, combat is a money sink mostly. I'm thinking I'm going into mining in Elite. I want to get that deep core mining. I've heard so many things for years now. That sounds super interesting to me, and I love a good sound design. I know Elite Dangerous isn't going to disappoint there. None of the PvE loops actually promote group gameplay. It's always more efficient to do things by yourself. Yeah, you're very right about that. The things that require group gameplay generally just up the numbers of stuff. No real loss, nothing but chips to spend money on, so the economy loop dies as soon as people have enough money to not need anymore. Yeah, one of the things, and see that maybe we should have org taxes, because like as an org we want to buy more stuff to run more events, but I mean, I clearly we need to run more stuff or like take taxes because people are having a fine time making money, and we need money to run events, but we're not quite getting the money needed to run said events. Mining is the best in ED. Passengers are good money income, though. You mine passengers? I hope that's like data mining. All right, taxes. Wanted to touch on this real quick.
And this is where taxes and insurance come in. Boo! We'll have two main taxes: inheritance tax as part of Death of a Spaceman, and security tax for your base that will cover the cost of planetary shield tech. Insurance, on the other hand, will be split between medical insurance.
Man, Death of a Spaceman is so misunderstood. It's crazy.
And probably the most important one of all, ship insurance. Now, as we have Death of a Spaceman, we also need Death of a Spaceship. Losing your ship should be significant. Right now, for example, over 90% of all claims in the verse are for ships that have not been destroyed.
Whose fault is that?
And this is where ship
insurance... That's for you, dude. Who is it that was saying with the mining? Mayatic? That's you. He's calling you out. You're the one to save us from that kind of stuff. The ship claims for the ships that aren't even destroyed. Benefit Man. Thanks for the sub, bro. I appreciate you with the 10 months. I even appreciate more you dropping that twerking booty in the chat. The best emote on this channel now. I can't get over it. I love seeing it in the chat. Thank you for using it. Hope you're having a good day and a good week. And hopefully we get some good freaking news to talk about this week. Let me double check and see if... I think this week's going to be pretty quiet for Star Citizen. Still just a monthly report. What other news has come out? X4 Foundation's had some news recently. Might be worth touching on. Anybody here play X4? Clearly not my computer. I'll wait for you to load.
And our new warranty mechanic comes in. First up, we'll have 3 tiers of insurance, with level 1 being chassis insurance, level 2, chassis and component insurance, and level 3, chassis, component, and decorations insurance.
This confuses us and confuse people. X4 is nice, very deep. Yeah, dude, X4 is sick. You played for 50 hours? I think I've played for... How long have I played this game for? Five hours. I got space to make on it. I wanted to get back into Hard Space recently. Hard Space Shipbreaker. Should download that. 20 gigabytes free. Why do I only have 20 freaking gigabytes free? What in sweet Jemima handheld? How in the world do I only have 20 gigabytes free on this thing? This don't seem no bit possible. I think I gotta delete a few screen captures here. Yikes. Should have new updates fairly soon. Oh, that's good. You played it. One of the best space games. Nodders. Also, Spacecraft is one that I want to check out. I've not gotten to do much looking into that, but I've been hearing quite a bit about it for a little while now, and it looks like fun. Then there's freaking what else? There's what's the name of the Dune Awakening. I have not gotten to jump on Dune Awakening in like a year. So yeah, I've got this game not on a wish list. Yeah, I'll keep it on there to keep an eye on it. I've heard good things. They bought the IP back. That's right. Yes. Heartspace went self-published. That was very nice to see. Good for them too on getting that much success to be able to do that. Did you ever get the chance to enjoy Hellion when it was alive? I didn't. No, I heard about it. I didn't get to try it. You have a lot of hours in Dune Awakening. We actually have a regular org presence in Dune Awakening. If you ever want to join, they call themselves Sand Citizen. And generally, I would say weekly, like weekly events in Dune. I don't know if Avocado's still in the chat. He's one of the big names pushing that. Avocado and Balta do a lot of it. And we've got a whole section in the Discord and an area in the game where people hang out. But I know it's been touch and go for people. $3,000 hours in closed beta and 2,000 hours in launch Dune. Jesus. That's wild, dude. How is Hellion a scam? That sounds like an interesting story. Tell me more. Devs decided to stop, but they were still selling the game on Steam. Like they were... Did they announce that they had stopped development, or they just kind of let people think they still were? Whiskey Element. Enjoy your time at work, friend. Tell everybody there that they need to get more spaceships in their lives. And no, I don't mean like go to Blue Origin. Dude, this game actually, this looks like fun to fly around. The movement looks okay. Certainly an interesting, it's like a combination of what, Star Rupture and Elite Danger? No, like Star Citizen, No Man's Sky kinda, and Star Rupture. Anybody know how big of a group you can be in something like this? It's grindy, some satisfaction there, but it's empty. So they've basically got like the bare bones there ready to get started on, but still not a ton of content. For Hellion, they put an announcement after players started protesting and the game was never finished. Huh. Interesting. Dude, if you got the ability to put that in the reactions channel on Discord, we can give that a look later. Speaking of which, somebody sent me a video to look at. Ooh, it's a long one. I can keep this for later. Interesting. Not sure what this is. Let's listen to the intro of this just to see what it's about. This is, I guess, a YouTube channel that talks about game art. Next level game art. Professional environment artist with AAA studio experience at Ubisoft, indie development, and over a decade teaching game art at a college. Interesting. This sounds like interesting to watch. Shout out to Nemo for suggesting this one.
This is Star Citizen. The game has been in an alpha state and playable for quite some years, but will eventually release soon. In this video, we'll take a look at the modular building kits.
I remember this. I'm pretty sure this was a community challenge. This is when they were putting out contests, and then people were like inputting their own design, and I think CIG hired some of the folks who were doing it.
We will take a look at some of their art tests so that we can better understand what matters to the team when hiring artists. And we will take a look at some amazing concept art that was used during production.
Dude, I love ArtCorp concept art. Is so
the
good.
First artist is Mathieu, and he's...
There are some really, really nice ArtCorp concept art that I gotta find, because it's some of the best in the game, and it's unfortunate that ArtCorp hasn't been realized with this styling. This one is so good. Kind of shows a little bit of how they've saved some of that green space in the city, but you still get such a nice sense of scale here, being able to see like the small windows and the cars going past. It just feels a lot bigger and more epic. I think that's the coolest picture. I don't feel like looking for the other ones. Sorry. Shanju, good afternoon. Been watching for a bit. Your phone was elsewhere. Hope everyone is doing well and had an enjoyable holiday weekend. Thanks for watching. Thanks for chilling. Is that to say that you're watching on the TV and the phone is for commenting? I always think about, I actually try to avoid thinking about the possibility that I'm on people's TVs, because those are really big.
Showing us a small room modular kit. So you can see the pieces, and this is going to be, I guess, an interesting look into sci-fi in general, because modular building kits works exactly like for buildings when we work on fantasy or modern day settings, but we see a bit more interiors because sci-fi game spaces are usually in spaceships or stations. Of course, it can be also outside in the wild on other planets, but there is a lot of those. So we will see a lot of metal, panels, cables, machinery, all those sort of stuff, vents, all those kind of very typical stuff, which we have a good look here. And the trick is really to leverage modularity, and then to make it interesting while you have different techniques that are added upon, such as decals, such as, of course, some variations regarding props, set dressing, and such things, cables, wires. There are many, many, many strategies, but essentially it's very straightforward. And the modular kit pieces, and let's look at others, because the artist has provided quite a few, which is excellent, and they are a little bit more sophisticated or a little bit more detailed or busy, right? Either
I'm going to switch to vehicles because I know you guys love a spaceship. Let's see what he has to say a little bit about this stuff.
From the same artist, the Starfarer. So basically the artist was responsible for pretty much everything. Modeling, texturing, shaders, lighting, technical setup, which probably is not so easy, because you have probably some animation, some VFX, some stuff going on with moving parts and these kind of things. Of course, some other parts were done by another artist. The turrets, I mean, not, this is a big deal. Like, this is a freaking big ship. It would be very surprising that only one person did absolutely everything. But as far as creating most of it, it was the responsibility of the artist. And you see how big it is. And that's really nice. Very nice presentation with different lightings. And you can see
This ship is really
sunset.
freaking big, but it's also super awkward looking. I've always felt like the Starfarer was just a lump that looked like somebody took a knife to it. Not that it's a bad design. It's certainly designed with intention. It's just probably my least favorite MISC design there is.
So just before I get into the wireframes, I want to show this trim, which is beautiful, and which is something you have to be showing if you are applying to a studio that does sci-fi. Okay, there are, of course, many different roles for artists in such a studio, but basically, like, you can't go wrong, and I believe this is a must, whether it's for environment, vehicles, or I wouldn't say weapon. It's probably very different for weapon, but environments, general role of 3D. You would need to have a very good trim sheet like this with intricate details, and that shows depth and height variation and all that fun, very nice stuff. So yeah, that's a must. And then we have the wireframe. And as you can see, I mean, this is a big piece, of course.
We do praise the sun around here. Good on you. The sun makes all things true, in my opinion. Can't disagree with that. It doesn't
qualify as a prop. It's not a hero prop. It's a vehicle. So it's really a specialization on its own. And since the player, we have an actual comparison here, the player point of view will be that.
It's got a big nose. Basically.
So yeah, I mean, stuff has to be smooth, right? You can't cut corners. So it's a very, very big piece, and every small part of it is important, because in the game you can walk around, you can inspect, you can get inside, you
even
can
crazier in VR.
But
so much crazier in VR. I don't know anybody if you guys play it or not, but it's kind of crazy that there's so much. The game is so big, and you can take a VR headset and like zoom in on a freaking screw. That'd be the most annoying thing if I had actually worked on the game. Like, don't look at that. Stop it. Actually, no, that's not true. Admire the work. We spend a lot of time on it. Look at it. We love it. Shinanju, you have a question? How in the world do you remember where all this footage is and specific moments within all that video footage? Do you do it on the fly, or do you prep before a stream so that you have a ballpark idea of what you're looking for? Some things I prep. So today I looked up these YouTube videos beforehand. Not this one, but like this one, and this one. I knew they had talked about something specific that I looked up for that. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know, man. To be quite honest, I need to start doing more research into it, because it's helpful for making videos and coverage of Star Citizen, but I can't do it for anything else. Like I genuinely wish that I wish I remembered engineering stuff that well. I'd be a great engineer. It's a gift and a curse. But yeah, it just, I guess because I just like watched it so much, and then covering these deep dives year after year, going over this stuff for everybody who asks questions, just like trying to bring it up. I started this channel literally because I was just trying to communicate what CIG had communicated that kept getting lost in the noise. Like, if you go back to the beginning of my YouTube channel, I have this like long series of retrospectives that was just nothing but me looking back at whatever CIG was saying exactly 1 year prior, and then comparing it to what was happening at that time. And that didn't really work out, so I stopped doing it, but that was always the idea behind the channel. It was never to make people feel great about Star Citizen, to sell Star Citizen. I was always just kind of focused on explaining it. And you don't really start doing a YouTube channel with the expectation that folks are going to catch on to it and start using it as like a source of truth and news. So it also took me a while to realize that I can't just be my optimistic self looking at that stuff. I need to have more objectivity, which is like something that I talked about earlier today. It's just it's weird making a YouTube channel, but at the end of the day, it all started because like I watched this stuff obsessively. I talked about it obsessively, and Mrs. Tomato was like, dude, you gotta you gotta tell more people about this. You know, not just your wife. But you're famous. No, not even. I am happy to be famous with my family. They're like, hey, you have that tomato YouTube channel, right? God no, dude. Tiny little freaking, we got a tiny puddle here, Star Citizen. And I'm a little fish in that tiny puddle, and I'm good with that. Fame sounds awful. Have you seen what happens to famous people? Yikes. I would much rather just stick to like liking video games and talking about them. Ain't nobody wants... the worst thing that could happen to Star Citizen is it becomes the most popular game in the world. Right? That sounds terrible. Let's just have our little corner here where we get to spend real money on spaceships and sit in an alpha for 12 years without only feeling slightly judged. When your significant other pushed you to succeed, that is an awesome win. Oh yeah, no, she's awesome. This whole thing was her idea. You don't like the little wings curving down? Looks good parked, but doesn't look like it's supposed to fly with those wings. Which ship are you talking about? The Starfarer? Oh, the wings in the back there?
You can really see it from everywhere by the artist Luan.
Oh.
And we have some info on the bottom.
Ooh.
So this panel is very simple, but the simplicity of it is what allowed us to make it incredibly versatile along the entire game. Usage of palm decals, parallax occlusion mapping gave the artist a lot of creative freedom. And let's appreciate another finer detail. So instead of being just a white reflective plastic or metal, there are actually square dots added in the detail normal, right? So there's a pattern, and then you can see, you can feel that there's something else going for it, right? And then of course the light behaves in a certain way that it catches your attention in a certain angle. Here we have some examples.
The flying turtle.
So of course, from a distance, it's the typical, large surface in sci-fi, which is mostly one color, but of course it has some variations and some level of wear and tear. Speaking of which, the artist is showing us that every material had a wear amount slider. Some more work by the artist, so of course there has to be trims. So this one is a machine gribble trim. Of course was super useful in areas with high density of detail, and as you can imagine there is a lot going on, and the artist is explaining also that there was a glow layer, so some parts could be buttons flashing or such things, emitting light, of course, with an emissive texture.
This is a cool video. I don't have too much to say on it because it's mainly an art focused thing, and I don't want to just sit here and like watch his video instead of just telling you guys to go check this out. Next Level Game Art is the channel though, and it looks like he talks about quite a few different games. This is pointed out to me because of his episode on something else. But it looks like he's been doing this for quite some time now. You watch your channel often? Can't believe I wasn't following. Well, the Twitch channel is an interesting one. It's fun though. As this year goes on, I'm realizing more and more that Twitch and YouTube streaming is kind of going to be a changing point. I definitely suggest you use the Twitch stream. When farming comes into the game, will you grow actual space tomatoes? If they give us actual space tomatoes, they've given us basically just little freaking persimmons so far. Not much to build off of. See, update 9 came out then. Update 9 in June. Yeah, I gotta start looking at more of these space games that are coming out and doing their thing. Anybody got any other questions? I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it early. I got a lot of video work to do. Boy, oh boy, do I need to catch up on videos on Space Tomato Gaming. Hard to listen to him without spacing out. I get it. Good one. I think that was a joke. I hope it was a joke. Thank you everybody for coming today. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I really appreciate it. I know it's a small, short, quiet time for Star Citizen right now. Never a quiet time for your boy the Tomat though. Always trying to be a okay. Hello. Did we just run out of space? Always trying to be the best tomato we can be. Peace and love and fruit and vegetables to you all. Thank you so much for the support this month. It helps us a ton. July and June are the particular crazy months of Star Citizen. So I'll be back on Wednesday, probably to play some other games, but we'll do some chatting about whatever is going on in Star Citizen. And we'll have something fun to do. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for putting your faith in the fruit. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.